Hi, my name is Larry Smith. I'm one of the co-founders of Divorce Outcomes. Today's discussion is around transition roadmaps and personal divorces. Do you have a personal transition roadmap to get through your divorce in a meaningful period of time, respectable period of time? You don't want it to stretch on forever. You want it to be as short as possible. I'll explain the different phases coming up. You want to make sure you have very clearly defined milestones, and within each milestone, of which there's 5 major milestones, um, you want to have clearly defined process steps and who the owner of those process steps are and what the dependencies of the processes are throughout the whole process. So you have a beginning date, then you have a very clearly defined ending date, which can be moved possibly along the way if things aren't staying on track. The 5 phases are: you need to assess your divorcing risk, get the lay of the land. We do, basically, the advisors. Figure out who your team's going to be. Divorce attorney may or may not be appropriate at the beginning. It depends on, we often talk about the pie chart in a divorce. What percentage is financial matters you have to deal with in a divorce? What percentage is legal? Most people share with us, which may not be your situation, 95, 98% is financial and 2 to 5% is legal. So you want to make sure you're utilizing the right expert at the right point in time and make sure they're doing their role and with the depth of expertise so you can get the most benefit. But during this first phase, you assess the divorce risks, in the lay of the land, getting situational context, understanding where things stand, what's your current state of your negotiating position. The second phase is all, which is the lion's share of most of this work, is about de-risking your divorce, de-risking your outcomes, de-risking your future financial position to give you the maximum future flexibility, financial flexibility you can have. There's a number of steps you go through there, each having dependencies and all showing as a Gantt chart through the process. Once you've de-risked your divorce with evidence, with understanding, I'll explain this in a second, you will be in a position to strategically design your communications. I'll go into that in a second, but we often share people 2 things. If you, this is the financial communication, I'm talking about, this is your financial house, whether or not all your ducks are in order in your financial profile. This is the communication process. A lot of people go through the process, miss a bunch of steps, and they jump right into the communication process, which creates every single communication you make, text, voice, if you will, writing, whatever it may be, creates an impression. So you want to make sure you manage those impressions because they're difficult to unseat when you take them away. So before you communicate, make sure you know what you want to communicate, number 1, specifically, and 2, you want to understand how to pre-experience the outcomes of what's going to happen before you even get into this communication process. So that brings up this firsthand, and that's around getting your ducks in order in your financial house, if you will. In your financial house, if you will, there's usually often many tradable components, line items that have to be captured onto your marital estate. If they're not captured properly, you can't go into your communication process and negotiate them. You can't go to a mediation. You can do any of this stuff, but it's going to hurt you. You can't really have a discussion with your spouse if you're on the same page in an amicable situation or a contentious situation such as a mediation or a trial, or even going back and forth with attorneys if you have attorneys on board. You want to make sure it's all organized and you can understand what pragmatically makes sense in your financial situation, your profile, before you go your communication process. So once you do the de-risking of the de-risking phase for your outcomes, if you will, your divorce, then you're positioned, because all your financial stuff would have been done, to be strategically positioned to enter the communication process. Once that's done, you design a strategy of how to open up the door, open up the mind with the other person. And there's a lot of strategies around this, depending on the personalities involved and what's been said already to date. And you go through the communication and you iterate back and forth and you gain agreement. Then the next step is to assess the implications of those agreements, although verbal at the moment, and I'll explain divorce conditions in a second, those verbal agreements on your future financial life. Does it impact your estate plan? Does it impact any wills of trust, et cetera, et cetera? What's the governance structure we need to have in place to make sure your post-divorce life, here's the pre-date of marriage, date of marriage, marriage point, filing for divorce if there was one at all, temporary orders, permanent orders, and post-divorce beyond that. Post-divorce, how are you positioned? How you manage your life? And finally, after that piece, you go into a transitioning process where you're going to be closing everything up and wrapping up, and it's all going to be good for the post-life, if you will. Those are the 5 major phases. Assess your risks, de-risk your divorce or de-risk your outcomes, if you will, same thing. Strategically position your communications. The next one is around your governance structure, how you're going to run your life basically going forward. And the last one is transitioning your life successfully. So it's really critically important to have this transition roadmap in place so you can see the processes, who's responsible for what, where the dependencies are, and how the elapsed time, how it's going to take for each piece. You will be involved in the process. It's critically important. And so you can start here and go forward. And the goal is to keep this as short as possible so you don't have new variables coming into the process. The longer it's open, the more risk that can enter the situation and change your whole outcomes. So in most situations, not all, there's some that strategically you actually want to keep it open. It's a discussion for another day. So today was about transition roadmaps and personal divorces. Absolutely a critical, essential tool to have in your toolbox as you're doing your either helping people go through a divorce or actually going through the divorce yourself. Thank you so much.